Good morning. This is part 4 of lesson 12.1, trigonometric functions in the right triangles. Our goal today is to find an angle when given only two sides. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is from part 3 yesterday. When I have something like sine of blank equals 0.5, the angle that would fit in here would be a 30-degree angle because sine of 30 degrees equals 0.5. Now, rather than writing it with a blank like this, what we would do is we'd say that sine inverse of 0.5 is equal to 30. So we're going to be using inverse trig functions today. Okay. This slide right here just kind of explains it all, the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. So for an example, let's just look at the sine. Sine A equals 1/2, and so sine inverse 1/2 equals the measure of angle A, which implies that the measure of angle A is 30. That's just what I got through doing. I think the easiest way to go about understanding this is just to do an example. So you can pause it on this screen if you want to see the example from the textbook. I'll work an example for you. Actually, two examples right here. All right, the first thing that you need to remember is SOHCAHTOA. That's the key to everything that we do so far. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. Our first goal is to decide whether to use sine, cosine, or tangent. When I'm looking at this, I see this angle, I've got an adjacent, I've got a hypotenuse. So I'm going to be using the cosine function here. So I'll set my problem up like this. Cosine of angle x is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Now once I've got the problem set up now to figure out what x is going to equal the inverse cosine of 15/17. Simple. Now, any calculator will do this as long as it's scientific in nature. So, when I'm looking here, I'm going to go ahead and type this in. With the computer's calculator, you'll need to do the 15/17 first. So 15 divided by 17 is equal to this number. And now I'll just do inverse cosine. So you push your inverse button, it gets you the cosine. And there you go. So that is, I'm going to call that a 28.1 degree angle. So x is approximately 28.1 degrees. Let's look at this second example. All right, we need to decide whether to use the sine, the cosine, or the tangent. I have an adjacent, I have an opposite. We're going to be using tangent here. Once again, set it up like this. Tangent of x is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Rewrite it using your inverse functions. I apologize for the interruption. Some students came in to deliver some paper. Now back to what we were doing here. Okay, so I just need to go ahead and rewrite this as x equals tangent inverse of 27/18. Okay, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use my TI Inspire calculator. Okay, so I'm going to open up the screen here. Let's go over here and select the tangent inverse. It's right there. What was that number again? Wrong slideshow. There we go. 27/18. Okay, so let's put fraction in. 27/18. Press enter. Once again, be sure your calculator is set to degrees, otherwise you're going to be getting the wrong answer. So 56.3. 56.3. X is approximately 56.3 degrees. Okay. Now then, on some of the problems they're going to ask for both x and y. So if they've got a y over here that you need to find, that's really quite simple because every triangle, you remember, has 180 degrees. 90 of them are taken up with this right angle, so that means these two together have to equal the 90 degrees Pardon me, another interruption here.
They will return to their testing site at 11. Thank you.
Welcome to the world of teachers. Okay. Okay, so I know that this angle y is going to have to equal 90 minus the 56.3 degrees. It's an approximation. So y is approximately, let's see, that's going to be 40, 34, 33.7 degrees. It's as easy as that. And if they want you to go one step further and solve this triangle, all you'd have to do is find this one side, because now we know what x is, we know what y is, we know what two sides are. I can either use the Pythagorean theorem to find this third side, or I could use one of these things. It's best to go ahead and use Pythagorean theorem if you want to solve it. One of the basic rules is always use given numbers rather than found numbers. If I had used this number to find this side, if I make a mistake with this, I'm guaranteed to get a mistake or a wrong answer. So always use given numbers, not found numbers. That's it for today. Tune in again. We'll see you on the next one.